I'm 81 years old now, and as I sit here in my favorite armchair, the afternoon sun warming my face, I often find my mind drifting back through the years. My life with Thomas was a long and winding road, full of love, laughter, and yes, a few secrets. One secret in particular, a secret I kept for over 50 years, is what I want to share with you today. It's the story of my escape fund. Thomas and I were married in the spring of 1963. He was a handsome, charming man with a steady job at the local factory. I was a young woman with dreams of my own. But in those days, a wife's place was in the home. I loved Thomas dearly, but from the very beginning, there was a part of me that felt a quiet unease. He was a good man, but he was also a man of his time. He believed the money he earned was his, and what I needed, I had to ask for. Every week, he'd give me a housekeeping allowance. I was expected to run the entire household on that amount: groceries, cleaning supplies, clothes for the children when they came along, and I did. I became an expert at stretching every single penny. I learned to mend clothes until they were more patch than fabric, to cook meals from the humblest ingredients, and to find joy in simple, free pleasures like a walk in the park or a book from the library. But every time I had to ask for money for a new pair of shoes or a trip to the dentist, I felt a small sting of dependence. It wasn't about the money itself, but about the lack of autonomy, the feeling that my life wasn't entirely my own. Thomas wasn't cruel. He just didn't understand. To him, this was the natural order of things. The idea for my secret fund began subtly. It started with the change from the grocery shopping, a few coins here and there, tucked into an old tea tin at the back of the pantry. Then I got a little more creative. I started selling the extra vegetables from my garden to a neighbor. I took in mending and sewing for other ladies in the neighborhood, my fingers flying over the fabric late at night after Thomas and the kids were asleep. Every dollar felt like a tiny victory, a piece of my own life that I was reclaiming. I found an old, hollowed-out book at a thrift store, a dusty copy of Great Expectations, which seemed fitting. I carefully sliced a cavity into its pages, and that became my first secret bank. I'd hide it on the bookshelf, right in plain sight, sandwiched between other classics. No one ever thought to look there. Over the years, the fund grew. It wasn't a fortune, not by any stretch of the imagination, but to me, it was everything. It was the what-if money. What if Thomas lost his job? What if one of the kids got sick and we needed extra money for a specialist? And, in my darkest, most private moments, what if I ever needed to leave? That last thought was a heavy one. I loved my husband, and I loved my family, but there were times, hard times, when his temper would flare or his controlling nature would feel suffocating. In those moments, knowing that the hollowed-out book was on the shelf gave me a sense of strength. It was my silent declaration of independence. It meant I wasn't trapped. It meant I had a choice. Years turned into decades. The children grew up and moved out. Thomas and I settled into the comfortable rhythm of old age. The arguments became less frequent, replaced by a quiet companionship. He retired, and we spent our days gardening, reading, and watching the world go by from our front porch. My secret fund continued to grow. ID moved on from the hollowed out book to a secure savings account at a bank in the next town over, opened with the money I earned from selling my prize-winning quilts at the county fair. It became less of an escape fund and more of a dream fund. I dreamt of traveling, of seeing the ocean, of buying a small cottage just for myself. Thomas fell ill quite suddenly. It was a fast and aggressive illness that stole him from me within a few short months. In his final days, we talked more honestly than we ever had in our 50-plus years of marriage. We spoke of our joys, our regrets, the things we wished we'd done differently. One afternoon, as I was holding his hand, he looked at me with clear, tired eyes. He said, "Mary, I know I wasn't always the easiest man to live with. I know I was tight with the money. I hope you were happy." Tears streamed down my face. "Oh, Thomas," I said, "we built a good life, a wonderful life. And I meant it. We had. After he passed, the grief was a heavy blanket. The house felt so empty, so quiet. One day, while sorting through his things, I found an old metal box tucked away in the back of his closet. It was locked. My curiosity got the better of me, and I managed to pry it open with a screwdriver. Inside, nestled among old photographs and his army service medals, were stacks of cash. Not a huge amount, but certainly a few $1,000s. And on top of the money was a small, folded note. My hands trembled as I opened it. The note was in his familiar, looping handwriting. It read, "For Mary. Just in case. For your dreams." I sat on the floor of the closet and I cried. I cried for all the years we hadn't been able to talk about these things. I cried for his secret, which mirrored my own. He knew. Or maybe he didn't know about my specific funds, but he knew me. He knew that part of me that yearned for a little independence, a little something of my own. All those years, we were both saving, both hiding a little piece of ourselves, both planning for a just-in-case that we never truly spoke of. His money, combined with my secret savings, was a significant sum. For a while, I didn't know what to do with it. It felt like a sacred trust. But then, I remembered our dreams. My dreams, the ones I had nurtured with every dollar I'd saved. So, at the age of 80, I did something I never thought I would. I booked a trip. I went to Italy. I saw the Colosseum in Rome, Primera Rude, e a gondola in Venice, and I ate gelato under the Tuscan sun. I walked on cobblestone streets that were older than my own country, and with every step, I felt a sense of freedom and joy that was so profound, it brought me to tears. I thought of Thomas. I felt he was there with me, smiling. I think, in the end, he would have been proud. Proud that I finally used our secret money to live out a dream. Now, I'm back home. The house is still quiet, but it's no longer empty. It's filled with memories, both old and new. My secret fund taught me the importance of having something for yourself, a small corner of your life that is yours and yours alone. It gave me strength when I felt weak and hope when I felt lost. And in the end, it gave me the freedom to honor both my life with Thomas and the woman I was all along. It was never about the money. It was about the possibility it represented, the possibility of being me. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever felt the need for your own hollowed-out book, know that you're not alone. Take care of yourselves, and don't forget to follow your dreams. Thanks for watching.